All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thursday Night Football, week number 7. We got the Saints taking on the Broncos here. In today's video, I'm going to dive into this game. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about a few player props that I'm liking in the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment for all of my final plays so that I'm actually rolling with myself. They'll all be listed for free in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did last week, yet another cha-ching-worthy week. 5 of our 6 NFL weeks so far, we have made money. And the 5th week was the one that we didn't. Bounced back last week, going 3-1 on Thursday Night Football, 5-2 on Sunday Night Football, and a lot of guppies had a lot to say before those games kicked off. And by halftime, by the end of the game, all of a sudden, the talking kind of subsided and the comments started to rest because we proved a lot of people wrong, right? But Monday Night Football rolled around and we did give a little bit back. But overall, a green weekend. We cannot complain about that. 5 of the 6 weeks we're making money. I don't know how we're doing it. I'm just a dummy with a camera and a microphone, but we are sure as hell doing it. But let's go ahead and dive into this game, guys. Saints 2-point dogs at home, total sitting at 37.5. Before we do jump into it, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. You guys have been absolutely amazing in the NFL season so far. Whether you're hating, whether you're loving, you watch all the time. I don't take this position for granted. And, like I said, whether you're hating or loving, I'm loving the interaction. We're building an amazing community here. So go ahead and hit that like button. If you are new, subscribe to the channel as well. You guys are absolutely amazing. So hit that like button and subscribe. But let's jump into this game. Saints 2-point dogs, total sitting at 37.5. I think, at least for this one, definitely important to start with the injuries because this thing's lit up like a Christmas tree for both teams. Now, we are kind of getting into that point of the NFL season, or we are in that point of the NFL season where a lot of guys are listed as questionable, limited in practice, blah, blah, blah. Guys are banged up, you know what I mean? So if they're even practicing at all, odds are they usually end up playing. It's when guys are missing practice and whatnot that they don't end up playing. But let's talk about them anyways. Pat Surtain being probably the number one guy that we need to look at on this Denver side of things. Obviously, that's crucially left last game with a concussion. We also have Riley Moss, the other corner, and then another secondary member, Jaquan McMillian. So a lot of secondary issues here for the Denver Broncos, which is very important because on the Saints side of things, most likely going to see a backup quarterback again in Spencer Rattler, as Derek Carr is doubtful. Alvin Kamara questionable. Chris Olave questionable. Raheed Shaheed questionable. The offensive line is dinged up. The defensive line is dinged up. This Saints team has a lot of injuries to monitor as well. So before you guys do go racing to the books and windows and put in your plays, make sure you guys are kind of doing your own due diligence and how these injuries progress throughout the next couple days as well. Just if there's any advice to give you, it is that, because obviously, what if they, you like the Saints and all of a sudden it's like Kamara, Olave, and Shaheed are all out? Well, they were questionable. I figured they'd play. Well, at some point, they probably weren't in practice and that type of thing. So I do think it is worth noting some of these injuries. But we'll talk about all that as we get into our spread pick here. But a little bit about both teams so far throughout the year. Denver, 3-3 straight up here. 4-2 against the spread. 3-3 to the over-under as well. New Orleans, 2-4 record. Boy, did they fall from the graces of blowing out Carolina week 1, blowing out Dallas week 2. Obviously, some injury concerns, especially the offensive line, and then Carr getting hurt, but then they lose 4 straight, and they're 3-3 against the spread, but 2-4 straight up. But they have been through a gauntlet. Like, if you compare what these two teams have had to go through, Denver had Seattle, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, New York, and a monsoon, Las Vegas, and then the Chargers, right? Whereas New Orleans, yes, they had Carolina week 1, but then it goes to Dallas. At that time, people didn't realize that Dallas was struggling, right? Dallas, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, like, pretty big discrepancy in terms of the teams that these two teams have had to play. Now, that being said, I do believe in this Denver defense. They've looked really, really good, even though they've played some bad offenses. I get it. But one thing that stands out to me is the fact that Tampa Bay, what's proven to be one of the best pass attacks in the NFL, maybe just one of the best offenses, right? They held to 7 points in week number 3. By far and away the worst offensive game from Tampa Bay. And that was before people were all on board this Denver team's defense. Now you look at last week, and it's like, oh, well, the Chargers put up 23 against them, but 20 of those came in the first half. They settled in, allowed 3 in the third quarter, and 0 in the fourth quarter, so 3 in the second half, and they actually won the second half 16-3. So I do think the defense is fairly legit here, but, and it is a big but, pending some injuries, obviously being confirmed and whatnot, I am going to lean towards the Saints in this spot. Now, it's +2. I'm hoping to see, a 2.5 so we can buy it to 3, or, geez, if we get lucky, 3.5, something like that, right? Obviously, barring any injury news. But I like the Saints because, to me, this is going to come down to whether or not Bo Nix takes care of the ball. Now, the beginning of the year, in his first couple of weeks, he was not doing that. He had 2 interceptions each of the first 2 games. Now he only has 1 interception in the last few weeks, and it came last week. But this is a spot in which New Orleans causes a lot of turnovers from the quarterback position. Interception rate, they're second this season. Even last week, right? Baker Mayfield, who has been phenomenal, had 4 touchdowns. Yeah. 3 interceptions. Now, you can make the argument, but 2 of them were tipped balls and all that. Sure, but that's because their linemen are they're tipped balls for a reason, I guess I should say. They still count as interceptions, right? And Bo Nix right now, this is including those first 2 weeks, so yes, he's gotten better and better, but I still do think it could be a fundamental issue here. He's sitting as the 8th most turnover-worthy throw percentage quarterback in the league. So the percentage of his throws that could be intercepted or are, do you know what I mean? Maybe the defensive back just drops him, still counts as a turnover-worthy throw. And then 4th most from a legit number of the most turnover-worthy throws this season. And what I kind of looked into to try and dispel that for a second was, okay, well, has he been getting pressured? Has he been getting sacked? No, Nix has not been getting sacked or pressured or anything this much this year. 4th fewest, I think the 4th fewest sacks, pressured kind of in the middle of the pack, and that's important because New Orleans isn't all that great at getting or hurrying or pressuring the quarterback. They're kind of, middle to bottom of the barrel in terms of getting to the quarterback. So these are Bo Nix mistakes that he has made this year. Now, I already said, came at the beginning of the year, he's getting better and better, but based on how this defense is playing, even with some of the injuries that they have, I do like the idea of maybe him making a couple big mistakes and them deciding it that way. So I am going to lean towards the Saints here plus the points. But again, I kind of want a better number. That 2 isn't going to do much for me. If I like 2, I might as well look at them for plus 115 on the money line. I want to get this to like 3 or 3.5 and have a little bit of kind of a safety cushion here. Now, from a total perspective, this is an interesting number, especially with all of those injuries, right? And you obviously have Denver, who has not been the highest powered of offenses. And that's kind of another reason why I like the Saints before we get to the total. If this Saints team even puts up, what they did last week, which is they got crushed, but they scored 27 points. And at one point they scored 20 points pretty damn quick. Even if they do that, I don't know if Denver has, the manpower to go out there and put 27 points on the board. So far this year, they have done that once, and it was against the Raiders defense 2 weeks ago. But other than that, it's been 26, funny enough, 10, 16, and like I said, 34, which is kind of an outlier. So another reason why I like New Orleans. But from a total perspective, there's so many injuries here, and we've even seen, the Saints offense kind of look shaky at times with this offensive line. I really don't know what to make of it. You can get plus money for that 37.5 right now, so a lot of 37s out there. Maybe that's what I would look at. If this thing's going to go down, down, and down, I just kind of slightly lean more towards the over because I do see this being a similar game to what we saw from, the Saints as what the Chargers did to them, and then even still, the Broncos put up 16 in that one, right? This is not me saying I think there's going to be a lot of points, but as that number gets lower and lower and lower, I don't feel comfortable with the under. So I would lean towards the over. It's not exactly my favorite spot there, but we do have a few player props to jump into in today's video. So let's go ahead and do that. But again, to recap, I like the Saints plus the points, but I want to get to plus 3 or 3.5 if at all possible with some sort of reasonable juice, right? And I also slightly lean towards the over, but it is a slight lean. But before we do get into the player props, guys, I want to talk to you about Underdog. I know I said Bo Nix may make a mistake in this game, but he's got a free square 0.5 total yards. He can run for it. He can pass for it. Sign up for Underdog with the link in the description as well as the pinned comment. You're also going to get up to $1,000 in deposit bonus cash when you do sign up, guys. So go get this free square. Go get the deposit bonus. They're doing a bunch of other boosts and bonuses on the app as of right now. You can also use it on the computer if you don't like using your phone. So go check it out. Link in the description as well as the pinned comment. You can also sign up with code GUYBOSTON. But if you don't know what it is, it's a really, really cool app, guys. All you do is pick more or less on set projections for players. You put 2 or more into an entry. The more you win, the more you get paid out. Pretty damn cool. But let's jump into a few player props that I'm liking here. Now, Starting it off with Bo Nix. I know I kind of ragged on him here, but I like his over 10.5 longest rush. I looked at his rushing yards, and he's had a couple games in which didn't look all that amazing, but from his longest rush perspective, he's hit it in 4 of the last 5 and in 5 of the 6 on the season. And this is a spot in which New Orleans has actually allowed some quarterbacks to rush. Now, you have Kirk Cousins of the world and whatnot that obviously aren't going to rush, right? But we have seen, as of late, at least a few quarterbacks get over this or at least get pretty damn close. Mahomes and Prescott getting close. We saw Baker Mayfield have a 20-plus yard run against them last week. Jalen Hurts obviously had one, but he's more of a mobile quarterback. But Bo Nix has been trying to escape when he needs to. And again, this is not a team in New Orleans that brings the most amount of pressure. You can even see it down here, right? In terms of QB hits, they're tied for 23rd. Sacks tied for 16th. They do hurry the quarterback, but I almost like that for this case. They're not sacking him. They're not hitting him. If they hurry him, it's going to make him want to run. And again, he will take off. He's been pretty good at this year. So I like his longest rush over 10.5. If you only have his rushing yards at 24.5, I do not mind it, but I think that he can have, one rush for a bunch here. You can see how many attempts he has per game. Pretty good sort of work size, and his average rushing yards per attempt is at 5.5. So if he rushes, 6 times for 5, then yes, you do kind of get to your number if you only want to go rush yards at 24, but I think he takes off for 1. Maybe I go, a half unit on the longest rush, half unit on rushing yards overall. I've also kicked around the idea of an interception from him. Right now you're seeing minus 125, minus 130 odds. He has 5 on the season. You could see up here that New Orleans does take away the second most from quarterbacks in terms of interception, averaging just under 2 per game. I think that could be a good look too, but the thing that would keep me off of this is, like I mentioned, he has been a little bit better as of late, right? You can see first interception in 4 weeks last week. So I don't necessarily mind it. Bad throws, he's actually, a few less. 0 bad throws last week, 11% the week before, 10 bad throws, 40% the week prior. So he has been getting a little bit better compared to, 21, 26 kind of religiously there. But I still don't mind his interception. So that is one spot that I'm looking at for sure. Oh, and by the way, guys, the tool that you are seeing me use right now is called Outlier. I also have a link for that in the pinned comment and the description. You get 7 days free. By far and away my favorite, literally for the last, 2 or 3 years, my favorite player prop tool for research out there. It's a one-stop shop. You can even see me using it in this video. So go ahead and check it out, guys. That link is in the pinned comment as well as the description. You get 7 days free, but let's get back to a couple more player prop spots. Now, another spot I'm looking at is actually going to be Javonte Williams over 12.5 or over 12, depending on where you can get it. Rush attempts here. I like this spot. Obviously, he's only hit it in 2 of his games this year, 2 of the last 3, albeit, right? But if we flip back here and look at where this New Orleans defense struggles, it is against the rush, right? Ranking 26th out of 32 in rush DVOA. So I like the idea of Williams kind of getting fed early, and hopefully this game is close enough that he can kind of continue to get it going, right? We've seen, as of late, a lot of guys getting a lot of touches against this New Orleans team. Last week, Tucker and Irving both had 14 carries. Tucker went for 136. Bucky Irving went for 81. So if you like his over 47.5, sure, but I kind of just like the volume and the number here at attempts. Prior to that, we saw Kareem Hunt, 27 carries against New Orleans. Then we saw Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, 8-7. That wasn't all that tremendous. Saquon had 17. So there's been a few guys that have definitely been getting a lot of carries now. I mentioned, Saquon and Kareem Hunt. Like, there are some better names here than Javonte, who is splitting some carries. I think if we even look at the snap count here, you could see, where do we got? Actually, snap counts right here. You could see we have overall he's been getting a hefty workload, 60+%. Jaleel McLaughlin is taking some of these carries, but again, I think that he's going to be the predominant back. But I can understand your sort of hesitation if you don't mind, if you like that. But what I was going to say is that we've seen Saquon or Kareem Hunt, some big names like Javonte, bigger than Javonte, I should say. But then Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker, like some of these guys that are lesser names still getting the ball and getting going. So to me, this is a spot in which for plus money for over 12.5, I like. If you can get it at flat, I think that's over on underdog. For 12, I like that as well. So Javonte Williams there, over 12 carries. And then we move over to Alvin Kamara. I like his long rush. All but 2 games this year, we've seen teams be able to have one running back rush for 15 plus yards against this Denver team. And yes, their running defense is good. Not as good as their pass defense, though, right? And Kamara, I feel like this is kind of a buy low spot for him. You look at him on the year, cruising. Offensive line gets dinged up, new quarterback, and then it's 11, 14, 8. And from a carries perspective, right, in terms of, what are we looking at here? And I guess is longest reception. Sorry, I'm looking at longest rush right there, 15 and a half. So 17, he's only hit it in 2 of his 6 weeks, 17, 15, 16, but 15, 2 of these, he's been right there, and it's a buy low spot here at 9 and 7 in the last 2 weeks. In terms of what he's getting, yards after contact, 22 yards, none last week. I just feel like this is a very good buy low spot for a guy that, we've seen, like I said, all but 2 primary running backs this year be able to do this against the Denver team. I looked at his rush yards, but to me, that's a little bit too high for a guy that just has not been doing it all that much. 11 and 13 carries there too. Like the volume kind of dipped. So to me, I feel like another play, just like the Bo Nix one, like if we look at his longest rush, it just takes 1 rush to go out there and do that. But kind of like the spot that I'm looking at, right? Alvin Kamara on the ground and that type of a thing, which we also do have. I kept this till the end for all the real ones. So if you are watching right now, make sure to comment 16 because we're about to enter the 16-minute mark of the video. But also go ahead and comment your Instagram or Twitter name. Make sure you let me know which it is, Instagram or Twitter, because we have a nice little giveaway here. We're on Underdog, and with a couple of those player props we just talked about, we're going to throw them into an Underdog slip, and if we hit, we'll give away some of the winnings to multiple people in the comments. I'll reach out on Instagram or on Twitter, so make sure to comment 16. That's kind of the keyword to enter because you made it 16 minutes into the video, and then comment your Instagram or Twitter name. Just make sure you clarify which one it is, but we have Alvin Kamara higher than 14 and a half longest rush. We get a better line over Underdog, and same thing with Javonte Williams, higher than 12 rushing attempts. If this cashes, again, we'll go through with the giveaway. So hopefully you guys do like that, and that's what we're going to have for you in this Thursday night matchup. But as always, keep an eye on the pinned comment. That is where all of my final plays, if I add anything, maybe we get some injury updates and makes me change my mind on something, just keep an eye on that. That is like sort of the old faithful, the Bible of the plays for the week. If you do want to ride with me, or if you do want to fade me, all those plays are going to be in the pinned comment, 100% free. But like I said before, guys, appreciate all the support on the NFL videos this year. NBA is coming up. We still have MLB baseball. We're going to be grinding our you-know-what's off on the channel, getting the content out. And I love the fact that you guys kind of reciprocate and really do mess with what we're doing here. So thank you guys very much. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.